Emperor Sparkle, as you know. Welcome to my new podcast. So, my first guest is Sam from Flowering into 5D. As you know, guys, I want to bring a bit more of a spiritual journey for you guys because I know a lot of you are struggling. So, I'm bringing in guests to hopefully help you along that path. So, hi, Sam. Do you want to introduce yourself, lovely?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Sam. I'm a Cambodian. I'm not Cambodian. I'm a Canadian woman living in Cambodia. So I left Canada in 2016, just in search of who I was and what I wanted to do in this world. I knew that, typical Western life wasn't for me. And long story short, I've now ended up in Cambodia. And I'm super passionate about using detoxification and human design to basically help ascend into 5D consciousness. That's me in a nutshell.
So this was interesting. So we were just having a chat, weren't we? And I assumed by your post it was very much about manifesting and bringing forward sort of your energy and stuff. And you were like, no, it's not. So I find this really interesting because to me, like I automatically put through what I can do, which is where I can cleanse my own energy and stuff like that. And can you explain sort of what you mean by human design? That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So human design is actually it's kind of like astrology but on steroids. It is a system that was channeled by somebody named Ra'u Haru back in 1992. So it's basically it takes your birth information, so your birth date, your birth location, birth time, and creates this funky thing called a body graph that is like super like weird and confusing when you first see it, but it basically holds so much information about you. It takes the chakra system, the I Ching, the Kabbalah. There's so many layers that it just incorporates into this beautiful you picture that, I mean, it's not a physical picture, but it has a lot of information. And yeah, I'm super passionate about it. And I really think that for me, it gave me a lot of answers and a lot of clarity into who I was and what I'm here to do and everything like that. And I find it to be extremely powerful for people to learn this information about themselves, because human design is actually known as the science of differentiation, which, what that means is that we are all here to be on our own path. Even people that are born at the same day, the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be the same. And I think as soon as we realize that we're not all here to go on path A, or we're not all here to be in the rat race, or whatever it is, it's such a like take the heavy cloak off. You know what I mean? Like it feels
Yeah.
like a weight is just
And
gone
this,
because you can finally be
yeah.
yourself.
And this is one of the things that I was saying to you before. I found quite hard 7 months ago when someone come to me and they went, by the way, because you worship the Greek gods, you're a Hellenist and you've got to
Mm,
do this ritual, you've got to do that ritual, you've got to do this ritual. And I've been doing it since I was 20. So I'm now 39. So that's like 19 years. And all of a sudden I'm
hmm
like, hold on, I've got to change the way I'm worshipping the Greek gods. I've got to change everything. There's actual
hmm
rituals. It's not about so a lot of the things that I do, I go on the energy that's around me. So
hmm
as we know with spring this year, it came in quite early. It came in February instead of March.
hmm
So I go by that vibe. I'm like, oh, spring's coming in. I can feel it's warming up. The April showers were already with us in February here in England. So I was like, this is summer's here. Now I've got to celebrate Demeter and I've got to celebrate Dionysus.
mm.
So I go by the energy around me, whereas they have set dates. So I think what you're saying is absolutely brilliant because that shows how my path is very different to everyone else's, the way I'm connected with the energy. And I love what you actually said as well. I have to say that because I am a big believer that all energies come into one. So everyone's like, Reiki goes into this pile,
Mm.
feng shui goes into this pile. this religion goes into this power. And I'm like, no, I believe that they're all somehow connected massively. I am a massive believer of that. Wow. Sorry, that is really like
No, I love it. And yeah, that's exactly right. And actually, to bring it even further, so we're going deep dive here. So there's regular human design, which was, channeled by Ra Uhuru in 1992, like I mentioned. But there's actually another human design called cosmic human design. And now this is actually the stuff that I look at because I'm sure you know all about astrology, right? And
yeah.
astrology, most as people who are, using astrology are using tropical astrology, which is to do with the seasons, which, you know what, like, I'm not coming here to say, well, that's wrong and this is right, because like, we all have our own path and we all have something that we understand to be true. And it's not anybody else's business, so to speak, what we're going to do. But for me, I follow something called true sidereal astrology, which is where the planets actually are in the sky right now. So if you take a Star Walk app or, whatever those apps are that you can
Yeah.
point at the sky and say like, oh, look, there's a constellation. I take the astrology that I work with to do human design is using that astrology where you can look and say like, oh no, the moon is actually in Virgo, it's not in Libra. Like, it's
Yes.
super powerful because the constellations aren't all 30 degrees. It's a great system and it was very helpful to, go based on the seasons. But I feel like for me in 2025, I'm thinking that this evolution of astrology, to use true sidereal, just feels for me more soul aligned. And so that's why I use it to calculate the human design body graph, which I know I sound like, but for
No.
some people, but I use this type of astrology to calculate the body graph because I think that it's so powerful to use what's really happening in the stars right now. Like, this is like, and somehow, like, the charts are different. Like, when I first did my original human design, I was like, whoa, like, this hits hard. Like, this is real talk
Yes.
information. But when I pulled my 5D cosmic true sidereal human design, my mind was blown. First, my ego was like, how dare you? But then, then I
I
kind of, you get
I get that a lot
it.
with people with tarot. When I tell them that I'm very straight talking with my tarot, people do
mm,
not like that at all. I am
mm,
very straight talking. I'm actually really blessed. A lot of my friends nickname me the Oracle because how blessed I am. And
beautiful.
yeah, they literally, I don't mean this rudely, a lot of people don't want to hear it straight away. They're like, that is not what is going on. But I
Yeah.
think what you're saying is what I personally completely agree with. So
Mm,
even though I'm not massive on my astrology, I'm more massive on my energy, feeling the energies around me and stuff like that. I'm absolutely huge on that.
mm-hmm.
And what you're sort of very similar to me. So even though you're doing it by astrology, for me, it's like I can, as I said about spring, I can now feel summer's already coming in. Summer's coming in early. It's,
Mm,
I don't mean really, it hit 21 degrees the other day. So it's
yeah.
like I can feel that's coming in early. That's very warm for this country. And I think this is part of the problem. We've got into this now where old school us, we were intuitive and we did look at the sky. We did take note of where they were there and then rather than
Mm-hmm.
where they are now, where they're meant to be is the way I'm going to word it.
Yes. Yes.
We sort of go, actually, no, the north, sometimes I notice the North Star isn't as bright as usual. So I'm like, oh, why is that a bit further than usual from the planet? But yet, if I go on one of their maps, it'll tell me it's in its normal place. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not in its normal place. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
is not in its normal place. And I think this is one of the reasons why, for me, I do go off the feel because
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes with the full moon, they'll go like this month, they'll go, oh, the full moon's on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And it actually wasn't quite on the 11th. It was more on the 11th, on the 12th, 13th, and 14th. I found the full
Mm.
moon was more on them nights. And I'm just like, this is why we need to feel the energy more, get back to who we
Mhm.
are, recognize that energy inside ourselves, get back to where we're meant to be naturally. I do feel like there is a lot of people at the moment struggling with this because they can feel the pull towards coming back to this naturally,
Mhm.
but they don't quite know the path to follow, and they're a bit
Yeah.
confused on the path. And as I said to you earlier, this is sort of what I want to bring to my followers is, look, you don't have to follow the path I'm on. You may not understand your energy. You may never understand your energy, but they could look at what you're doing and go, actually, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense for me. And for me, this is a massive thing because this is something I knew nothing about. I hold my hands up. I knew nothing about. So I'm like learning as well. And to hear, because everyone goes on about birth charts. I
Mm.
freaking hate birth charts.
You're like,
I, yeah, I hate them. I
mhm.
hate this generalization on Scorpio. I am not your
Yeah.
typical, I'm fiery, yes, but I
Mm.
am not your typical Scorpio. Um, the main thing I have, which would actually go as your typical Scorpio, is the loyalty. I am a
Mm.
massive loyalty person. So for me, this is really, really like, I just want to scream, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Yeah.
not everyone has to follow this path. Not everyone has to go, well, that's the way it is, because
Yeah.
that's the way they've said. And this is like, I hold my hands up in a way why I'm struggling with social media, because I don't want
Mm.
that cult, as they say, that
Right.
cult following. I want people to be able to be free, to be them, to want to go and do what they want to
Mhm.
do. And I think this is one of the things that I would love to help people just to get back to who we're meant to be as people. Like, not the, I know it sounds weird, but I'm not saying about the going out hunting, knife and pitchforks,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I mean? But more the fact of getting back to feeling, for me, what gods and goddesses have gave to us. Obviously we haven't
Mhm.
spoke religion, so I don't know for yourself, everyone knows my religion. For some people it may just be what gods gave to them, because I, you
Mhm.
know um and I'm a big believer of that all the gods and goddesses are real. I'm a
Mhm.
massive believer of that. But I just believe that we do have to look at, how do we get this intuitively? you know
Right.
people people say to me all the time, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you get visions? How do you know this? And I'm like, the energy, the planet, everything's given it to me.
Mhm.
um if that makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense. It makes complete sense. And you know what? Like, part of the thing that I am so passionate about actually, to I feel like everybody has this ability. This isn't like some like, oh, you are a chosen one and all of us are like, oh, we're just simple people. Like, we all have these abilities. But for me, I feel like what is holding so many people back is the toxic things that are happening in the world. This is actually part of the reason why I incorporate detoxification into my, what I call my ascension aid, like to help people ascend into this 5D consciousness. Because if you're, you know, this is coming with no judgment, but if you're watching Netflix day in and day out and you're not paying attention to what you're putting in your body, and I'm not just talking about food, you're not going to get those messages because your brain is just filled with blah blah blah. It's, you
Yeah,
have to
right.
be able to clear that stuff out so that you can hear the voice within. Because if you're, like I said, if it's just you're, especially in the West, like, people are just getting inundated and bombarded with advertisements and messages and this and that and bling, 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 sorry for the weird sounds, but you know what I mean.
I completely
Just,
get it. I
it's,
completely get it, because it's a bit like myself. I went through a phase of watching K dramas. I think everyone's been through that
mm,
phase of watching K dramas. And I absolutely loved it.
mm-hmm,
But I found myself submerged and in this world now where my phone is constantly showing me K drama stuff, constantly showing me to draw me back in. It's
yeah,
like, you've stopped that now. Can we
Hmm.
have you come back in? And it's a bit like my husband. My husband is a TV watcher. I hold my hands up. And he's like, I want to watch, he wants Sky Glass. And I said to him,
Hmm.
they're going to charge us for YouTube. So
Hmm.
Sky Glass chart. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, no. I was
Mm.
like, no, why would you pay for something that's free?
Yeah.
Why would you pay for something that's free? And I think this is the problem with the West as well. We've got in this society where it's not just what we're taking in, it's also this materialistic grab
Yeah.
just to look better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, for me, I've got a daughter which is a hairdresser, so that sounds a bit weird actually. Well, she's going to be qualified soon. So for me, it's like all these fillers and stuff like that. We're consuming just so much with Netflix, and it's like I said to someone the other day, "Oh, I did a 6 hour meditation," and they were so shocked. They were like, "Why are you meditating for 6 hours? Like you could have done this, you could have done that, you could have done this." And I was like, no, my mind needed clearing. My mind
Yeah.
needed clearing. So it wasn't clearing. So I sat there until I at least had half an hour where my mind was clear,
Hmm.
completely clear. And they were like, and so when people say to me, oh, I can't meditate, I'm like, sit there until you meditate,
Yeah.
until you get into it, sit there and do it. And I know for some people that can be a bit harsh. I know that sounds a bit rude, but I think this is a problem because they're thinking about time. They're thinking, oh my goodness, that 15 minutes has gone. I've sat here for 15 minutes. I haven't been able to do it. So they're like, I could have watched a show on that time, or I could have
Yeah.
done this, I could have done that. Because they are thinking that, they are losing themselves. They're losing it because they're thinking about what can I consume more rather than what
Yeah.
can I actually give back and what can I get back.
How can I distract instead of sit with the real ish, if you will? I don't know what your policy is on swearing, but real talk though, it's uncomfortable to sit in silence. Most people don't know, they don't know how to do it, or they're so in that dopamine hit cycle of social media that they can't sit and not get that hit of I need to feel good right now. So
Yes.
it's we have to go, we have to feel good, we have to keep it scrolling, and that's the problem right there, is that you can't sit. And again, this isn't with a call of judgment or anything like that, because I know how it is, I've been there.
We've all been
But
there.
like this is how you learn, is you hear this from someone else, or you know figure it out in some way and say, well, why can't I sit? You have to start asking these questions. And most of the time, the things that we're consuming or the things that we're doing are making it so we don't have the time or ability to ask these questions, because it's just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Get to work, do this, come back. Oh, I only have 20 minutes. Like, blah, 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 what can I do? Oh, I
Do
only
this
have
for
time
the
to
kids.
scroll.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that I say to people because for me, like, they're quite shocked when they're like, oh, how much time do you spend on TikTok? How much time do you spend on YouTube? So I've totally gave up TikTok. I don't even go live there anymore. And I will admit that to
Mm,
everyone. And that is purely because I realized how toxic it was. It was drawing
mm,
me in. And
mm-hmm,
I got a notification one day back in December, and I got a notification, your weekly notification that tells you how long you've been on everything.
mm,
And I'd been on TikTok in that week 6 hours a day. And I was like, what am I doing?
mm. Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I even actually getting out of it? And when I speak to people, they're regularly on TikTok 6 or 7 hours a day and
Mm-hmm,
stuff like that. Whereas now I'm like, I'll just have a YouTube in the background while I'm working.
mm-hmm,
And that's
mm-hmm,
how I get my content in rather than scrolling. And I'm totally off
mm-hmm.
social media now. When it's my downtime, I am totally off social media. I'm concentrating on my girls, or I'm concentrating on my husband, rather than sat there constantly just scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of the things that for me does worry me, that we're not thinking about what we're taking in, and we're not thinking about, I call my white energy my soul. So I say it's my
Mm-hmm.
soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that your soul can go from white, grey, and black.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe that, your dark shadows and that Christians believe are demons. I don't believe they're demons. I just believe that they were nasty piece of monkeys in real life,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So for me, it's like, I do wonder whether we've got this massive explosion at the minute of shadow people.
Mm-hmm.
And I do wonder whether it's this loss of our connection.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not being very hubris anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like we've just totally, I don't know whether to use the word where we've lost ourselves, because I don't want to use that, because we can get ourselves back. It's an easy path
Yes.
to get back to where we need to be. I think it's harder to find out the right way to go, if that makes sense, because there's so much information out there now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder to know, well, do I follow this path? Do I follow that path? Which path feels right for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of the things that, for me, sort of when I talk to people, I just find they just feel so stuck in that cycle. They're just
Yeah.
stuck in it, drop the kids off at school, go to work,
Mm-hmm.
pick the
Mm-hmm.
kids up, make dinner, do
Mm-hmm.
laundry,
Yeah.
sit down, scroll TikTok. Most of them at scroll TikTok. Sit down,
Mm-hmm.
scroll TikTok, do the same thing the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you'll find as well, because obviously we're in this time where a lot of people can't afford to go out.
Right.
They can't afford to do a lot. And I find, in some ways, I think proactivity is really important. Like, no word of a lie, since my car's been broken, I've not been able to get out in the countryside. And people have been saying, we can see you going downhill. And I'm like, it's because I
Mm-hmm.
need that countryside. I need to sit out there. I need to sit out there and meditate. I need to be able to feel the grass underneath my feet. I
Yeah.
am, and I know it sounds like I'm a hippie. I get that.
I mean, I'm definitely a hippie, so I'm like, and what, get outside, girl, get your shoes off and step into that grass. I get it.
Yeah, and I'm very much that way. My hubby's like complete opposite to me. So he's like,
Mm,
babe, what are you doing? I said to him the other day, because I can't meditate.
grounded.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
can't meditate in my back garden because it's
Mm-hmm.
complete crap tip. I nearly swore then, but
Mm.
you're not allowed to swear on Spotify. So I nearly went and sat outside in the front garden, and he went, "You're not doing that in front of the neighbours." I was like, "But I need it. I need it." I'm like, "Take me to the countryside then."
Yeah. I need to get this energy back, and nature is one of those ways. So get in the car.
This is it. And I think this is the thing, because it's like you were saying about detox. Obviously, I detox people very different. It's more about energy. It's very much done through meditating and on a similar
Mm,
lines to cleansing. So, I do
yes.
want to ask about your detox, what sort of
Yeah.
way that would go. I'm
Yes.
intrigued.
Yeah. So for me, what I do is so the first thing, I've created detox guides for each of the five human design aura types. So this is like kind of like there's five types, and it's just kind of the blanket. It's like the introduction to human design. It's like, when people say, like you said, like, oh, I'm a Scorpio, like it's like how people can associate themselves easily
Yeah.
in human design. So I've made these detoxification guides specifically for people's aura types that just talk. There's 17 categories inside, and it's not just about physical, because I think, yeah, let's make sure that we're eating healthy. That's a great
Yeah.
start. Incorporate some herbs that are good for us, and etc. But it goes deeper. Like, it talks about the different tools that you can use to detoxify your body specifically for your aura type. It talks about the type of frequency that you should be listening to specifically for your aura type. It talks about different ways to detoxify your manifestation practice. Like it's your a gut health hack. Like it's it's very interesting, I think, and it's very I don't want to say like it's like complete because I mean,
Yeah.
who knows, but it's very well rounded in regards to detoxification because I really do believe that detoxification is a mind, body, and spirit practice. It's not just one. You have
Yes.
it's there's always the trifecta, right? For me, it's always you have to do all three. You can't just do one and done. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
No, that is brilliant because it's funny you say that because it's things like I find during Reiki, I do great group Reiki. As I said to you, I don't really, I call it Reiki because that's what everyone knows it as. But what I do is more energy cleansing, like,
Right.
trying to cleanse their energy, get it back to white rather than it be
Mm,
all this murky color. Um, and basically, for me, I do find that sometimes I may use selenite. I love selenite.
mm,
And what I will find is for someone that will cause heart palpitations, but someone else makes it feel that lovely vibration. And I think this is a brilliant thing that you've said actually, and I'm actually really intrigued in this purely because of the fact of that. I just think actually that now makes sense that our bodies actually that crystal might not be on the correct frequency for our body,
mm-hmm.
especially when you're going over the heart chakra. And let's be honest, I don't mean this rudely if you've got problems with your heart chakra, but the heart chakra is where we hold most of our trauma.
Right.
I find everyone sort of like the heart chakra is where I have to spend the longest time, all the time.
Mm,
It's where they hold everything. So when you're actually holding on to that, and then you've got a crystal that's not quite tapping into the correct frequency, I never ever thought of that. So that's really intrigued me about that. Sorry,
yeah.
I'm like,
No, I love it. I'm like, yes.
yeah, I've just
Yeah.
never ever thought because when I stopped using selenite on the group Reikis because I get a couple of them, and they were going, I'm getting heart palpitations. And I'm like, you shouldn't be getting heart palpitations. You should be bursting into tears. Like you
Mm,
should be crying. You should be, oh, this is worrying.
hmm.
Like you should not be getting heart palpitations. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm thinking, well, maybe that's actually either too strong. So it's actually causing the heart palpitations, sort of like the
Mm.
frequency going through. It's a bit like with you saying about sounds as well. I've got a sound bowl. It's actually on Apollo's altar. I leave it on there all the time. And then I ask him if I can borrow it. I'm so sad. I know.
I love it. I love it and
And
I'm here for it.
I then bring it off. And I find with that, some people can't even stand that. It's like I
Mm,
sit there and I listen to it. I love holding it in my hand and feel the
hmm.
vibration go through me. I am like, I could sit there all day with that going through me and feeling that vibration. But some people can't stand it. And it actually makes them feel ill. I will
Mm.
admit this. Some of them, though, I do find have dark attachments. So when you're using the sound bars, I don't know whether you believe in dark attachments, lovely.
I do,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
what I find with the bowl, when they're really struggling with the singing bowls, I
Hmm.
find a lot of them have the dark attachments
Hmm.
because and it's sort of like as we know with singing bowls, they are brilliant at getting rid of dark attachments. We love them for that.
Hmm. Yes.
So I find a lot of them where they actually are making them ill. And I think that is brilliant what
Hmm.
you're saying. And it just shows these frequencies actually how important they are in everything, not just
Definitely.
detox.
It's everything. Like literally, like I'm not gonna try and quote the exact quote from Nikola Tesla because I'm gonna fail and forget it. But it's like, if you want to look at energy or if you want to look at the world, look through energy and etc.
Yes.
Nailed it. But it's everything is energy. Just this obviously everything is energy. So if you're sitting here thinking, oh, that's what's going out there for you. And when you think that way, that's what your life is going to be. And it's like, this is our mind is so powerful. And I think a lot of people don't know this as well, or maybe they do, but just from my experiences, they don't realize what their life is they have created. And that's like a harsh, like, because a lot of people are having lives that they don't like, or it's hard, or, and I'm not saying, oh, it's all your fault. I'm not trying to say it like that, but I feel like to flip it the other way, that means that you're empowered to change it because
Yes.
you have created it. So it's not like oh, and I messed it up and let's all be a victim, because victim mentality is the most toxic of all
Oh,
the
yes.
mentalities. If you're going to be a victim, life is never going to happen for you because it's
Yeah.
always someone else's fault. You need to take responsibility for your life. And I'm not trying to talk down to people or judge people. It's just facts.
Yeah.
You have the ability. Like, it's the world is yours. Grab it,
Yes. And that, I love that, right? And I know there be people thinking that we are being a bit judgy with this victim mentality thing. But I do find a lot of people now, and I don't know whether it's to do with social media, compared to 10, 15 years ago, are in this victim mentality with
Mm-hmm.
with this a slight entitlement behavior as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, you're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to this earth. You're not entitled to that tree over there. You're not entitled to anything. That tree, someone crashes into a tree. I know this is a bit dramatic to you, so I do apologize. But if someone crashes into a tree, they've got to ask themselves why. And
Mm.
I remember one day, one of my friends, they crashed their car into a tree. It weren't a bad crash, thank goodness. They actually come away, no injuries. And she was like, oh my goodness, can't believe it. My steering locked up. And I said to her, oh, well, you've been moaning about the steering for a couple of weeks. Oh, yeah, yeah, but it's the car's fault. And I'm like, no, it's not. Why didn't you get in the garage when you were moaning about the car steering going?
Oh,
And this is
oh,
where these small little things where we're blaming something else rather than going, actually, I could have changed that,
yes,
is massive.
yes,
And it really makes me angry because I'm like, why? Why do you not see that you're actually keeping yourself in the place you are? You know,
exactly.
and this is one of the things that I really, really do struggle with. And I will hold my hands up here. So I will say one thing. The only thing I have met where I would never actually say that for is drug addiction. That
Mm.
is the only thing that I've met where I wouldn't say that for. And that's only because I've met people where they've tried to come clean and then a dealer's found them and encouraged them back on. So the only thing I
Yeah.
would say for is drug addiction. That is the only thing where I don't believe they're keeping themselves there. It is other people keeping them there, if that makes
Well,
sense.
of course, of course. Yeah, I mean there's always going to be an exception to every rule, but I
Yeah.
really do think in that case they're not in control of their life. So it's hard to be empowered when you're
Not
not in
in.
control.
See,
So,
this.
it's something else that's controlling you at that point. I personally don't drink at all. Um,
I'm the same.
everybody's gonna do what, yeah, everybody's gonna do what they want to do. It's none of my business what other people are doing. But for me, the moment that I realized that I need to stop polluting my body was when I heard that or I made the connection or heard whatever that alcohol, like hard alcohol, are called spirits for a reason. It's literally my experience and understanding, anyways, is that it's something's taken over and it's not you.
Well,
And,
this is one of the things. No, I completely agree. And I do believe, like with us saying about the victim mentality, in some ways, the alcohol doesn't help with some people. And I will admit that.
Mhm.
And I will admit as well, I just find that some of these issues that are going on, oh, I don't know how to word it without it sounding really rude. When you suddenly go to say something, you're like, actually, oh, you can feel the energy coming back on it, and you're like, oh, actually, maybe
Mhm.
not. But what I find personally though is they they don't actually realize the after effects of this
Yeah.
and the trouble this causes and stuff
Yes.
like that. And then I find that then leads into victim blaming. Sorry, my dogs are,
Hmm. It's okay.
they're growling at my flowers. Okay. I have a lot
Well,
of weird stuff go on here. Even though I've cleansed and cleansed and cleansed, I still have weird stuff go on. It's yeah, one of them things. One of them things when you're a spiritualist, no matter what you try, one thing's trying to attack you or another.
because you're able to notice it and that you're so like not to be like you're so clean and pure that but there's always something trying to attack all of us is from what I understand, right? So it's you have to put your energy up, whether it's some energy vampire coming down the street trying to blah blah at you for 45 minutes and take all your energy and tell you all their life problems.
Yes.
Like it's going to be there. So you have to be able to learn how to protect your energy for yourself and clear, obviously some of us need some help clearing the energy. All of us need help clearing the energy initially because there's a lot throughout our lives that we've all dealt with. But we also have to take initiative to learn how to clean and clear our own energies
Yes.
and protect ourselves because honestly, at the end of the day, like nobody's going to love you more than yourself. And
Completely.
you mentioned earlier like we're not entitled to anything. That's true, except for me, I believe that the only thing we are entitled to is love from ourselves.
Yes. See, now I talk massively about this. About we have a little bit of a joke actually, with my regular followers, and they're going to be pissing themselves laughing now, and I know they will be because they're going to be like, she's going to go on about garnet and rose quartz. So we
Yay.
have obviously rose quartz, which is self love,
Yes.
and I one day was trying to encourage people to get both crystals for the fact one's self-love and one's passion and manifesting,
Yes.
where you can sort of guess what lines that went down while I was trying to encourage people. And I think this is one of the things that I'm massive about. I talk a lot about self-love, self-care and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
do talk a massive
Mhm.
about that. I can be bad for it myself because I get too much like I want to help people. That is part of my survivors complex.
Mhm.
Part of my PTSD. I've got survivors complex, and that is that I want to save everyone. I want them
Mhm.
to be able to be in a good position. I want them to be able to be in a better position. So for me, it's like amazing actually how many people don't realize that they're entitled to this self-love, and it is to do with all this consumption, what we're
Mhm.
consuming, what we think we should have
Mhm.
rather than actually what we have.
Mhm.
And that really does frustrate me in this world. I get so aggravated with it, I will admit that. um I think this is one reason why now I am off social media in some ways. I literally go on posts and come off,
Mhm.
purely because I sit there sometimes and you watch some of what people are doing and you just think, what? Where's your respect for yourself?
Mm.
Where's your love for yourself? I watched a young girl the other day on one of my feeds. She's meant to be a Reiki master, and basically she does everything in a bikini just so she gets the views and likes. And I'm like, I personally, someone that does Reiki, I'm like, I wouldn't actually come to you because you don't love yourself. You're going to put that
Mm.
energy that you don't love yourself, you're not caring for yourself, you're going to put that
Mhm.
energy into me. And
Mhm.
that's not what I want, because I think this is another thing that people don't realize is when we talk about energies, whoever we're around, they put their energy into us. So as you said about vampire suckers,
Mhm.
they take our good energy. So all our good
Mhm.
energy, they take it. So if we're around people which I don't mean this really can't be asked, or they've got this entitlement energy,
Mhm.
they're going to put that into us. They're going to go,
Yeah.
well, I deserve that. Why ain't
Yeah.
I going to get? And all of a sudden, you have that sort of attitude to life.
Mhm.
Your attitude is, well, I've worked hard for that. Why don't I deserve that? Rather than actually
Mhm.
going, actually my attitude may be wrong, so that person's not happy with me because of my attitude.
Hmm.
If that makes sense, lovely.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. Yeah, it's, and not to say, they could have that, but they have to put in the work in a way that maybe what they're doing isn't working. Because if I hate to say it like this, but if it was meant for them, they would have it,
Yes. And
you
this is
know?
what I love about when we talked about your detox.
Hmm.
My energy cleansing may not work for them, but
Hmm.
they may go to you and get detox, go to the detox, your detox program, and that would work for them. Vice versa. And I think this
Hmm.
is one of the things that we need to actually look at is what's going to work for us.
Hmm.
Um, you also, because a lot of people do struggle to feel energies,
Hmm.
really struggle. I think one of the important keys is to watch someone for a little while and see if you actually like them as well.
Yes.
Um, because this is a massive thing. Energy Reiki doesn't work for me, and I will admit that for
Mm.
anyone. So that's why I sort of turned it into more this energy cleansing because Reiki doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
I'm more about the soul, about energy inside. Um, Obviously, Reiki for you doesn't work. So that's why you've got this detox, that sort of program, and it's working a lot better for you in that way. And I think this is the thing spiritually, it's nothing about DNA. It's nothing about what you look like. It's about attitude. It's about mindset. It's about our insides as well as our outsides, but not our
Hmm.
outsides like fillers and all that.
Yeah.
It's more about our outside. I say that and I'm sat with makeup. I do know. All right. um, but it's more about what we what we give on the outside. So I mentioned
Yeah.
hubris earlier, which is Greek, and it means the
Hmm.
fact that we have to act in a certain way. So we have
Hmm.
to be if I'm walking along the street and I see someone and they're desperate for help, I have to help. That is
Mm.
part of being hubris, and that is our actions for continue. It's one of them sort of things. It's really hard to explain hubris other than saying the word humbled.
Mm.
But a lot of people, when you say humble, I feel like that word's used wrongly now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
I know what you mean. It's been
yeah,
hijacked. Yeah.
yeah, especially for celebrities when they're going, oh my goodness, they're so humbled. And I'm like,
Ugh, yuck. Honestly, one thing that I'm not to be like, oh, I've been saying this for years, but um celebrities are just distractions. It's just another thing to take away from you hearing your own voice. If you want to level up, if you want to focus on getting your energy up and learning who you are and everything like that, turn off the media and start looking inward. And if you don't like what you see, then it's time to make that change for yourself. And nobody's going to do that but you. The TV's not going to do that for
yes.
you. Whoever is celebrity, I'm out of touch. I haven't followed that stuff in a long time, so I don't know who is famous. Brad Pitt. I don't know. Like I don't know who's. I don't know who's haps or whatever. I don't know what's going on right now, but um,
Other than
it's all a
BTS, I
distraction.
don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, other
yeah,
than
literally.
BTS.
Yeah, like I don't pay attention to any of that stuff because honestly, at the end of the day, if it brings you joy, then that's one thing. But if it's distracting you from learning who you are, and if you want to do that, then you need to start looking hard at yourself and your life choices and what's going on in my life. That's why I really think detoxification is a good way to start. And again, I don't mean detox like take a tea and everything's all good. I'm talking about
Yes,
hard
full on.
questions, journaling, shadow work, all of this like deeper detoxification, the detoxification of body, mind, and spirit, because it all needs to be done. If you want to be in touch with your spirit, you have to remove those roadblocks. And I think I call it detoxification. That's one way to do it. And plus, I think for me, human design is really powerful because it gives you that information that you don't feel so like, where do I, who am I? You know, it at least starts to give you a bit of a sense of self so that when you get that detoxification information in, then you can apply it a little easier and you're not just like swimming in the sea and you're like, but I don't know where to start. And, you know, like it's,
Yeah,
yeah, that's, I think it's a very powerful duo personally.
no, and I completely agree because even I will admit, on my journey, and I said to you this before we actually started recording, I will admit, even on my journey, there is times where I question my spirituality and I question where I
Mm,
am. And this is because I don't mean it rudely with what I do and the stuff I do, the witchcraft, the clairvoyance, and everything else. There's always someone there to put that ounce of doubt into me. There's
mm,
always someone there to put that in. Whereas I think what I have to admit this, lovely, and I shouldn't, in some ways, people will be going, Amy's promoting that. And I'm like, yeah, I am, because this actually sounds really good, because I think it is important that people understand their design, that people understand how to love, how to care for themselves inside and out, because it's just not done enough. And it's
it's
not
not. It's
at
not.
all. So I'm going to leave it there, lovely. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so
Um,
much for having me on. I'm so like grateful and it's just been an absolute pleasure to connect with you and yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. No, thank you guys for watching. And Sam, I will pop all her links down below. So do check her out. She is flowering into 5D. She is on Instagram and TikTok. I've got you so far. I will have a
Yeah,
look on
and
others, my lovely.
yeah, I'm
Are
on
you
YouTube and Facebook as well.
awesome? So
Yeah.
go check her out, guys. And I will speak to you all soon. Keep sparkling.